Welcome back, kids, to another episode of Sit Crooked, Talk Straight. I am Katie Myers,
And I'm Leanne Jameson.
and we are just super excited to sit with you today and give a message that might sound like there's
Super
too
weird.
Did,
I know.
did you say that? I don't understand. But hang with us. If you're new to the show, Leanne and I think we're pretty amazing. I mean, I really love both of our companies. Um, Fun, straightforward, truth tellers, intuitives, empaths, women's empowerment focused. We are here to challenge a lot of the status quo. Um, by having kind of thought-provoking conversations. And today is, I think, no different because this morning, for whatever reason, I was like, the phrase "say yes to the dress" just came to me. Like, and we like to explore all the things, right? Like, it could mean something. You never know. So we're chatting, and then Leanne says, "What about say yes to the stress?"
Right. And like when I was saying it, I'm like, sounds so weird coming out of my mouth
It
through my
did.
lips.
It sounded weird because of the verbiage and how we are very cognizant. We are very aware. I don't know which word. We
Cognizant.
are cognizant of language. And so when we say certain things or phrase them in certain ways, words have meaning, they carry energy. And so say yes to the stress feels very counter us. Um, However, I will remind you, and I can go back and look at when the episode was, but this is going to be not the same, but I want you to think philosophically. The episode that we did on the buffalo, be
Ooh,
like
yeah.
bison, where, so just a recap, there's, I don't know if it's Native American,
It is.
where, where does it come from?
I want to say it's Native American. I was thinking of like the jeweler who is actually, I think she's in New Zealand. I'm not sure though. You can't quote me on that. But there's a beautiful, I'll have to find her too, but there's a beautiful jeweler that everything that is be the bison, or be like the bison.
Yep.
Um,
The episode
so
the episode I'm
yeah.
referring to is episode number 51. It aired March 13 of 23.
Aww. We are so
Damn.
cyclical. I'm telling you, life is cyclical. Our energy is, our business is cyclical.
I
I'm
know.
going to be creating a program around that, a 6 week actually. I'm super stoked about it. But anyways,
I love it. So the theory is, or the story is, that like bison are known for going toward storms. So when all the other like wildlife, when like a winter storm comes in, everyone kind of like everything scurries to find shelter, to get away from it, to right, like wait for it to pass. Buffalo, the beasts and the courageous motherfuckers that they are, they're like, no, we're going into the storm. Why? Because when we go into the storm, we, yes, have to face hard things, but we're not avoiding it, which is also a hard thing, right? Like,
uh,
pick your hard, they're both hard. But it is the philosophy of confronting the things that are upon you head on, not shying away from the hard stuff, not backing down from challenges or difficult moments, but instead like showing up, which is very, very in tune with what we talk about all the time, is like show up, show out, like do you, be bold, live big.
right.
And so yeah, like so
And
saying yes to the stress is a fun play on that.
well, it really, we hear all the time of just like, we're just supposed to stay calm and zen and like meditation. And I am all about that. I teach meditation, I teach mindfulness, I teach it all. And what is it for? It's so that we can become more resilient and so that we can weather the storm, so that we can move into these more difficult or like conversations, but like situations, right? And not be so rattled, and we can move through with peace and strength and courage and softness and compassion and like stay true to our values. And when we think about stress, like there's so much avoidance of stress, I think, that now like our resiliency factor has decreased, right? And I wonder, I haven't done any research on this, but like I wonder if that's what we're seeing, right, with some kids today that are having more mental issues. And and I'm not disregarding like the genetic predisposition or anything like that, but I'm wondering if it's like how we always swing the pendulum so far one way to the other, and then we find this settling down. And I feel internally, and I'm seeing it around me, that we've done that with the masculinity for hundreds and hundreds of years, and then we swing to the femininity like for a little bit of time, for not hundreds and hundreds of years, but like swung, and now we're trying to find our balance. And it's the same thing with this too, with stress, like moving into the stress, saying yes to certain stressors that will help you to grow and expand and really move into life to its fullest, because we are going against the grain, because we are trying to find that balance back, or not even the balance, the harmony. I hate balance because it just, I don't know, that's just for some reason does not settle well with me, but with the harmony between um all of it. So yeah, we're not meant to just avoid all stress. Like life can be stress, life gets lifey, right? That's life comes with different experiences and different opportunities to either stay where you are or grow past. And it takes courage, and it takes leaning into the stress and facing some of these more difficult moments that do put stress, yes, on our body and our emotions and our soul and stuff like that. But like I think about even like with a diamond, right? Where there's so much stress like in the coal, and you have to stress and stress and stress it. And then there's this beautiful diamond that we all adore and love, and it's shiny and vibrant, and right, draws us to it, magnetizing almost, right? And which is my birthstone actually. So
Hint, hint, wink, wink. April. Diamonds are
which
girls'
a
best
lot of
friend.
things are happening in April. But yeah, so I think about that and just like how much do we lose out on, really? And this is, I don't know the answer to this, but it's just sort of something to think about, is like, how much do we miss out on because we avoid the stress of having the conversation, or standing up for ourselves, or standing in front of a crowd and speaking up, or whatever it is, right? That's the stress. And I mean, like, research has shown that, like, there's a certain amount of stress that does motivate us, right? And I've spoken with, some of my clients, some of my, the women who are high level, like executives and, attorneys and stuff. And they're like, but I don't want to lose my edge. I don't want to lose my stress. You're teaching me all these different techniques to like regulate my emotions and stuff like that. And it's like, well, it's so that you can move, like the stress isn't going to go away. You're not going to leave. Some are not going to leave their job, their high stress job. They're like, how do I maneuver through this and show up authentic to myself and lead in a way that is authentic to myself, right? And it's moving into that stress. So, but anyway, she was like, I'm just thinking of this one client specifically. She's like, but she's like, I get so anxious when I public speak. Is that supposed to be? And then she answered it for herself. She's like, but I do so well then. Like I said, don't forget, there is that tipping point, right? Like where that anxiety actually moves you forward, and it helps with like clarity and like holding your own and like moving into like, okay, what do I want to talk about? How do I want to be intentional with this?
Yeah.
And then you go, right? It's like this slingshot forward. So anyways, all right, I'm gonna there's a whole lot of thoughts there.
I love it, and it's all so applicable to everything like that's really going on in the world today. It's like, and this is not like a how-to guide, like a step one, because everyone's process is going to be so very different. For some people, it is the stress of, right, like politics. You might need to be one that turns the radio down, turns the TV off. You also might be one that needs to like go get involved in advocacy and let your voice be heard and like take it on. And so this is very, I don't want anyone to feel like or hear that there's like this process necessarily. Everyone's process is likely going to vary to some degree. But if you are actively avoiding real life stuff and you are not having hard conversations, you are not setting boundaries and saying no to people, you are people pleasing, saying what you think other people want to hear to make other people happy, etc., etc., you are sitting in three classic examples of avoiding reality, avoiding truth, avoiding discomfort. That those are the things that I want to encourage you to pivot and go into the storm.
Yeah.
Is it going to be hard? Probably. Will you do it perfectly? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
Will you learn something from it? God, I only can hope, because that is like the saving grace with a lot of hard situations. Is as long as we learned something, it wasn't like a
It
shit
was an
show.
all for nothing.
Right, right. But we have to be able to identify the things in our world. Which stress is it that is worth it for us, and which is not? And sometimes that I need my therapist and community of women around me who like say like, no, you can't just put your head in the sand on that one. Like you can't just like you
Mm.
need to pull yourself up. And I was just getting ready. It's so interesting. I was just getting ready to say pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but that is not what I believe at all. I don't know
I
where that
know. That's an
weird,
old.
weird
That's an
old
oldie.
stuff coming through. But it's not a pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's a take inventory of what your resources are and where your support lives so that you can access that as you are doing hard things. You don't have to do it by
Mm-hmm.
yourself. I mean, there are some things are a solo journey, but most of the time it's just facing something that you need to do for yourself, for self-care, that we're
Mm-hmm.
afraid to do. And when we're driven by fear, we will always run from the storm. If fear is driving
Yeah.
us, we will always hightail it out of there. And
Yeah.
what is that keeping us from? Like what is that keeping us secluded from? What are the areas that the storm kind of lives that if we keep running away from it, we'll never get to that other side? And what's on the
Mm,
other side that the storm will keep many of us just stuck when there might
right.
be like some amazing something on the other side of the storm, but we can't, there's no way around it, y'all. It's only through it. We have to go
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah.
So yeah, say yes to the stress. Like, not all of it. Not,
Well, be intentional about what you're saying yes to as far as the stress. Is this going to create growth, or is it? Because I mean, like I think about the stress that right, the stress of staying stuck where I was, like the stress of every single day, the stress that I see out there, out there. Like I don't have any. I know I have some, and like it's not how it used to be. So it's like for when I think about the stress that I had going into work every single day, and having somebody to answer to that I didn't necessarily like align with values and stuff like that, or like the external stresses that I just allowed to come in on me. But then like I was so exhausted. Like that was again a stress for awareness and stuff like that. But it's like at that point there's a tipping point, there's a turning point, there's a moment, many moments oftentimes, but it's up to the moment that we pay attention to where it's just like I am not okay with this stress. Like I know that it's stressful to go out and to really focus on my business and to put all of my attention there, and to know that this is possible, and to know that I can do this, and to know that it's a risk, and it's a risk that I'm willing to take. And Like that's stressful, but what was so stressful that wasn't leading me to growth was staying in a place that no longer served me, that was no longer aligning with like how I wanted to live, or my vision of how I wanted to live, what I wanted to put out into the world, how I wanted to, yeah, just show up, value wise and stuff.
Well, what you knew you were capable of, because I think the message that we send ourselves when we stay stuck in those high stress situations and we feel stuck is like, I'm capable of so much more. There's so much out there. But kind of going back to the like, it's all stress or it's all discomfort. So like, pick your discomfort. It's all stress, but you can be in the stress that, using your example, in a corporate job, not aligned. You can do hours of meditation a day. You can be on all the medication. You can be doing, and it won't do jack shit if you are not where you're supposed to be. So the opposite side of that is there stress that you experience today? Absolutely. Are there like questions and moments and like absolutely. But this stress, the stress that you are choosing, that you are when you are in alignment with yourself, is the kind of stress that can be managed by meditation and breath
Mm.
work. And likely the medication won't be necessary. Not, but no, take your meds. Take your
Not
meds. Take your meds.
yeah, how quickly you went. I have seen where it's like when we are aligned, maybe we can decrease some of that. But again, it's talk to your doctor. Everybody that I've talked to is like had their doctor, had their psychiatrist, like do not just go off meds. And and a lot of the dissonance that happens, the internal stress and conflict that happens, is when we are not showing up to our truest self, as our truest self, and aligning with our purpose and our vision for our life, right? And that can be in career, that can be in relationships, right? When I am avoiding, and I am really like good, really good, really like really seasoned at just like icing out. I am. I'm going to like totally embrace that. And specifically, like, yeah, it's with my husband, right? Like with my friends, I might get a little distant as I'm trying to like figure shit out. Like that's what it would like look like there. But we all go through this, like these transitions. But I'm really good at that, but it causes a lot of internal conflict. I get sick, I'm tired, I'm physically exhausted when I do that because I know that I'm holding back on something that I want to say. I'm trying to figure out what I want to say, right? But like at the same time, it's just like so much energy that I'm holding on to. I was like that, and I think about that in my corporate job too, of just like trying to hold on. And like again, I'm doing all the things to try to figure it out so that I'm not staying there. I'm getting a mentor, I'm going to therapy, I'm doing the things, right? And like being really, really in tune with just like if I keep holding on to this, like it is gonna kill me. Like it's exhausting. And when I lean into the stress of having the conversation of speaking my truth, it is usually, first of all, it's not as bad ever as I anticipate to be. Ever.
We build shit up in our minds. We go to worst case scenario. It's like, I'm about to tell my boss I'm putting in my notice, and like the feeling is like I'm about to be burned at the stake. And it's like, no, not really at all.
It's like a catastrophize. We just talked about this in my group. I'm like, all right, so if we're gonna catastrophize this way, like the worst way ever, I'm like, think about the most fucking amazing
We'll go to it.
possibility ever, right? So anyways, and it's somewhere in the middle usually, right? It really is. So being able to recognize that, and like the fear of starting my business, and then like looking at that and just like seeing how many opportunities that I had, and fell back into fear and fell back into, now I'm going to stay in the stress of what I know, right?
Mm.
Of corporate jobs, of like, because everybody, like you get the accolade. Anyways, it's really, really choosing, like you said, it's like, which stress am I going to stay in? Because one keeps me stuck and feeling really yuck. I heard this last night at one of my networking groups. Can't remember exactly what she did. Oh, she's an energy healer. She's like, I help people that are stuck in the yuck. I'm like, I really like that.
So good. because yeah, when you're stuck, it is yuck. Like it is like
Yes.
no one wants to be there. But that's also right. Like the stress of staying stuck is still the stress that you're choosing versus the stress of getting out, which is the stress that you're avoiding.
Exactly. And then when we move into that, we find that it's so much better on the other side, that it's so much more relieving, that I have so much more energy, that there's so many opportunities that I wasn't able to see when I was stuck in the other, right? And the other kind of stress. And we're just sort of like living, we're sort of just on autopilot and um it's just yeah, it's wild. And it's so interesting. Like what keeps on coming to me is this. I usually leave my therapy sessions with like a statement that I'm going to take with me for like the next couple of weeks. Um, and one of them was in the past, I felt like I had no choice.
Mm.
Today, or like I felt like there was no solution. That's what it was. I felt like there was no solution. Today, I actively choose my joy. I choose to speak up for myself. I choose to continue to live my life regardless, right? And that's again the work that we do of just like recognizing that like when we are stuck in the yuck, when we're stuck in the stress of like the things that aren't going to create growth for us, um there's victimhood there. There's like, I couldn't. It was so hard to see a way out and solutions. And that's where, when you were talking about just like getting somebody, like having your community, having your friends or your therapist or whoever to sort of help light the way, to illuminate the way forward. Or maybe, we can say forward or just back into yourself to like,
Mm.
because we have the answers within us. We fucking know. Our soul knows. Like we are avoiding shit. You can tell me all day long, like no, 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 no. I'm like bullshit. That's why you're sick to your stomach. That's why you have GI issues. That's why. And I'm not saying there aren't other reasons. Okay, okay. I'm just saying, like when there is a flare up of shit that you already have, maybe like my depression gets worse, like the heaviness, I just want to sleep all day, like that shit. Like I know that like I have a long history of depression, and especially in my family, and it's manageable. Like you said, when we are aligned with our truth, and we are moving forward in that, no matter how stressful, like it's not going to be as stressful as we think it is. Honestly, when it comes down to it, it's so much worse than we think. Like we make it out to be bad. Anyways, when I move into that, like, go figure. Like, I don't feel so fucking heavy. I'm excited to wake up again and go work out, and I'm not like exhausted by fucking 7 o'clock at night and wanting to avoid the world and like all of these things. So when I'm in that, when I say yes to the stress of speaking up for myself, of living in full alignment, of oh gosh, the light and like the weight that just like falls away. So anyways, that's me
Like it's
preaching.
there.
That
And
is like, I
I
have been there, I know you have too, and
I couldn't
that's why
agree
we're
more.
talking on this.
I know. And so like yeah, if you find yourself in that space, and I love how you were talking about like how committed you were, how dedicated you were to like the story that you had told yourself that you couldn't do certain things. And
100%.
girl, like I think you speak for so many of us in that we don't know, we don't know, and we can be deeply committed to the things that other people have told us. And so, if you are in that boat, if there's even an inkling of like there's your sign. There's your sign. Like there is something potentially there. But the last part that you said about like getting people to shine the light into, I like to think of it as not necessarily leading me or guiding me forward into something or back into myself. But I'll be very honest, sometimes I need someone to kick me straight in the ass so that I can pull my head out of it.
Yeah.
And, and then I'll know. Then I'll figure out forward, backwards, left, right, east, west, whatever. But first, I got to pull my head out of my ass.
Ah.
And so, if you're also one of those ones who, like, you're digging in, you're like, well, she just doesn't know what it's like to. You're right. I don't know a lot of stories out there and a lot of circumstances. And I love going on record and saying, I don't care what your circumstances are. I don't care how many mouths you have to feed. I don't care what the sitch is. You can do different if you want to.
So many stories out there. So many examples out there. I always bring up Rachel Rogers because she's an 8-figure business owner now. She grew up in the projects. Like, she did not have the resources. We grew up on food stamps. Like, we grew up, on assistance. I was actually just talking to my sister about that when we went out this weekend. And we were sort of just like laughing at like the sort of like we didn't really get it. I would always be like, so I get quarter lunches. What are you, jealous? Like, you get 2 pizzas. What? Like, but like literally, like when you think about that, like the struggles and stuff, that's a whole nother story for another day. But like, regardless, we have seen over and over and over. And I bring up like, you can look at Oprah's story. You can look at Rachel Hollis's story, although she's a little bit more vanilla. You can look at oh my gosh, Henry Ford's story. You can even look at, he's not my favorite, and definitely not my favorite, and he grew up very, very, very poor. There was a lot of like adversity and like so much in Elon Musk's past. Like there's so many examples you can use that we will like that you can call bullshit on yourself. So anyways, I encourage you to look them up. I encourage you to read them. Out of all of the love in my heart and our heart, for you to stop staying in the victim mode and for you to see the solutions that you can create, the life that you can live that's so much different than what you are living right now. So that is our encouragement for you. Thank you for listening to us about like embracing the stress. That is something that does not typically roll off my tongue, and it just seemed appropriate in the context that we were talking about it. Stay tuned for some big shit happening in April. I'm super, super excited. And stay tuned. We have a birthday in April. So we're super excited to bring.
Hold on. Pause. There are several birthdays in April. Literal belly button birthday, Leanne. Business birthdays, Leanne. Podcast birthdays, me and Leanne. Lots of things. So I'm with you. I really want listeners. I'm hopeful that we are going to collaborate on something to make April really fun and different.
Yes.
And so stay tuned.
Yes. Stay tuned. Be on the lookout for emails, for shout outs, for like invitations. We're super excited. So thank you for spending another beautiful episode, however you want to put it, with us. I always call them sessions. Episode with us, and as we just shoot the shit and get real, and we always love your feedback and your support, so be sure to subscribe, like, and share with others, and we will see you on the upside. So keep on keeping on, right? Like let your light shine, live your legacy, you were meant to, and we are here fucking cheering you on every step of the way. So until next time, let your light shine. Mwah!